So here's another relatively large flat area here. Does always just make you a little bit stand on your guard. But we do see this mineral deposit here. I do not believe was previously known to us. Usually they are not. Let's check this out. I wish they were not all in these craters. It's mercury. Oh, don't touch it. Suppose we are also dealing with other materials we probably don't want to touch on a fairly regular basis when we're harvesting these. So that's a heavy metal for us. Pop back in. And I just made this mark more or less in the corner of the map. In fact, we can see the edge of the map there. Should be good. I think we can pretty safely say there's nothing else there. Let's just run over our mercury deposit real quick. I always find that's the most efficient way to harvest it, really. But now, let's just take a look at our map. So we started, what, like... not right next to this signal, obviously, because otherwise we would have just done the mission. But, I actually don't remember exactly where it was. Is it up here, I think, right? And we went up, yeah, we went to this corner and then went counterclockwise like so. So, okay, we'll continue going along the southern section here and then probably go to the transponder signal. We might want to go a little bit further north after that because there is still a little bit of stuff that we haven't seen yet. And I think we've only found one kind of thing to interact with that was unknown to us when we first came up here. That mercury that we just collected. So that means that, you know what, I'd like to believe there may be more. Now this is a kind of a wall that we have to get over. So this is tough. Maybe best if we just kind of go around rather than over the steepest part of this. Kind of hoping we could at least go over this though. Then, as soon as we can, we start headed back in this direction. Something kind of like this. Just basically don't bother trying to climb up to the top of that, because that, well, maybe from a different angle, might be a little bit more doable. Like so. You can sort of ride the top of these areas. In theory, that might be better. But at this rate, I think we can see enough that we can't definitively say that there's nothing up there, but if there is, then I think we'll live without it. And I'm now, yeah, I kind of lost track of where we were headed. Let's head back to the marker. I think we have more or less place where we're going to go still. Still, surprisingly little of note here. It's like this is a situation where, I mean, the art's actually somewhat elevated at the moment. But I kind of like to keep it that way if possible. Going around this way instead, well, this pose is marginally better. Go through that, probably, although I was expecting for us to have a little more momentum than that. Speaking of momentum, please don't get stuck in this ditch. No, we're good, we're good. Okay, so that's, I believe, the primary quest over there in that question marker. Let's just take a second to go a little bit further in the other direction first. You know, it's like some people who are supposedly in desperate need of some assistance, but like I'm sure they can, they'll last a few more minutes, right? They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Like they sent this message to us a while, or at least we learned about this quest a while ago. And it wasn't exactly, or top priority at the time, so they've already waited quite a bit, and I'm sure they can wait quite a bit longer, right? Surely they're gonna be fine. That is now the edge of the eastern part of the map, so we now have the bottom right corner explored. Means we have most of the planet. There's basically a little bit more sort of in the central east area. But we could also, at this point, just head on over to the actual mission. Which would be there-ish. Not really sure if we can see it from here. I think it might be that. There actually is a mineral deposit nearby. Let's save. Because
it looks like the signal's coming from that wreckage.
Careful, Commander. I've got a bad feeling about this.
Do you now? What wreckage is it, you say? That wreckage down there. Anti-vehicle mine. That seems like something that we don't want to be driving over with the Mako. You know, just saying. They load up from afar. Like, you know, I just feel a little reluctant to drive over an anti-vehicle mine with a vehicle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a trap.
It's a trap! And that's why it totally doesn't matter if we wait, because there aren't actually any people that we're supposed to save. It was a trap all along. And I know I was talking previously about missions that I did early on in my first playthrough, and how I thought it was perhaps the Armature mission, or not the Armature mission, the Pressure Maw mission. It might have been this. It might have been this. Both I did very early on. Obviously, they're both missions that are available to you very early on, but this one might have actually been first. Let's see. Got an interesting angle here. By interesting angle, I mean one that hopefully means that we won't have a ginormous group of death that can hit us simultaneously. That's part of the problem. That was a terrible shot. I'd like to get rid of some of you. Thank you. That miss, apparently. Rocket trooper down. Okay. We got some armatures down. They're, of course, a big deal. Yes, so there are actually some drones there. And we used a big rocket to destroy numerous of them simultaneously, so that's cool. Send one of the rocket troopers flying with a rocket of our own. And there's another one. There. That might be all of them, especially based on the journal entry we just got. So let's take a look. So it was a trap. It's a trap! But, let's see. Is it going to be grayed out now that we've perhaps completed it? I don't remember how we actually got this initially. So I don't know if there's anyone that we're looking to turn this into. The distress call was from the downed med ship, turned out to be a trap set by the Geth. Fortunately, you were able to survive the ambush. Perhaps because I remembered that we were going to get ambushed. And, you know, Garrus gives you a not-so-subtle hint. But anyways, we did also get an armor upgrade, kinetic buffer, more tungsten rounds. Again, I am a fan of those. In fact, a few rounds of them. Shield modulator, I think, again, just pure shield upgrades. In fact, probably do have some armor upgrades we could give people here. Let's take a look. So we are currently using the Medical Interface 5. I'm not sure we have anything better than that, at least nothing that is specifically for that purpose of life regeneration and toxin resistance. Now that we have gotten the Rex achievement for doing 5 missions with him, we do have at least some base life regeneration, so it is no longer quite as, I mean, I would argue, necessary, but it's not quite as significant to get life regeneration now, because at least we still have some, no matter what type of armor or armor upgrade we are using. So worst comes to worst, if we run out of metagel, we're in a tough situation. As long as we can hide somewhere, take some time to get some of that life to restore, then there is still a way to survive that way. But I mean, I still do really like the life regeneration and toxin resistance. Not the most relevant of things. When you need it, you need it. When you don't need it, it's useless. But let's see, for other people here, we had a slightly weaker version for Garrus. Let's take a look at Tally. I think might not have much going on for her, though. No, she's just using First Aid Interface 2. So again, life regeneration, but not nearly as good in her case. Do we have anything that might be better for you, Tally? Damage protection, hardening, just tons of shields. Smash damage and physics threshold. No, I don't exactly think that you're going to be running around smashing people with melee damage. Don't really think that's going to be the case for you. Yeah, I mean, at least from a pure health regeneration standpoint, we do not have any upgrades for you. At least no direct upgrades of this variety. Technically speaking, I think that the bonus that you get from the achievement that comes from Rex only applies to Shepard. It does not apply to the other squad mates. So that means that Tally, for example, does not have that 1 life regeneration per second. So she does need some other source of life regeneration. Otherwise, when she takes damage, it's permanent and can only be restored from things like metagel. So, I mean, we'll keep it on for now, but eventually she's definitely going to find other stuff that can be better than that armor upgrade that we have right now. We actually have a pretty decent shotgun. Okay, so maybe good there. Let's see, we did level up though. That means that we can now go all the way to the stasis specialization. The thing is about this, well, we don't yet have stasis unlocked, so we rushed this down, but now let's actually get stasis, and then we'll get the finishing points on that soon. So let's go a couple points in barrier, and then 1 more point will unlock stasis, and 1 more point after that will actually give us the stasis ability. A few more levels to make that happen, then we still have Garrus. For you, I think we were trying to get to at least advanced sabotage, probably, or were we just trying to unlock damping? This would be, yeah, can't use biotic tech abilities. It's useful for weakening people. Also stuns basic enemies for 3 seconds. Yeah, let's at least get the next round of sabotage first. Then maybe we'll go damping after that. And then after that, I'm not really sure what we're going to go with for you. Still? Oh, Tally. Let me get you. Okay, so what were we saying with you most recently? I think we were saying might as well at least get to Master Overload, or at least I assume that's why she's 1 point away from this right now. So, yeah, let's take that. Okay. And now that we have sorted out that decoy transmitter, let's just look in that area. I think is around where we've not yet been. I mean, it's close to where we actually landed here. This is the place where the initial trap got set off. There is also this over here, which will give us... I'm surprised we could actually get out of the Mako when it was that tilted, but some thorium. There we go. And, well, I know this is, like, not exactly in the right direction, but I just want to get over this little area here. Do that, then now we can build some momentum. Okay, now we're good. So yeah, there's this little area over here, which is close to where we landed. It's basically just completing the circle, and then there's a little bit of an area in the interior, the very middle of the planet, that we perhaps did not quite have the chance to see in full. So that might be worth just a quick check as well. And this is the place where I put the marker. It wasn't necessarily meant to be a precise location, but I think it means that for the most part, we've now seen what there is to see on the eastern side of the planet. Let's move in more to the center of the planet. See what else we might find there. And one nice thing about this planet was that, yes, it was a level 2 heat hazard, but fortunately, at least from what we've learned / experienced thus far, not too many things we had to go outside to do this. And relatively large flat area. Hold on just a second. Hold on just a second. We have a pressure mall. Fortunately, I hope not. I don't think so. Presumably, it would have popped up at this point, but it has not, so I think we are safe. Okay. I think so. I think we're good here. And that means, like, yeah, could go, like, there-ish. Maybe kind of sort of a place we haven't seen. For the most part, I think we've done what we're looking to do here. Might be one thing we're missing there. We'll take a quick look. See how quickly we can dash across. Find some nice level ground. Turn on the turbo boosters for the Mako. What turbo boosters, you say? The turbo boosters that make us go backwards, of course. What is that one over there? That's just the escape pod that we've already seen. Actually trying to turn right now? There we go. And despite the Mako still being, you know, at times a little unwieldy, this much is certainly true, I think now that we've had a fair bit more time to actually drive it around and push its limits to a certain extent, you know, first couple planets, maybe we didn't have a lot of stuff that felt like it was really out there in terms of trying to ascend steep inclines and what have you. But like we were seeing on this planet, I think it does feel like it's at least a little bit better than what it was previously. Of course, some of that is left to memory, trying to recall just what exactly it was like. And, you know, might be that some of that stuff naturally gets exaggerated in your mind over time as you recall it. Oh, man. Mako, it was terrible trying to run around in that thing. But yeah, overall, I think, while still not setting any records or winning any awards for the tightest of controls, it's a little better. But anyways, I think we're done here. So let's head back to the Normandy. Okay, so that means we can mark off another one of our quests there from our journal. And at least, I think, one or two other things that are on these uncharted worlds that are not directly tied to the main quest. I mean, obviously, they're not tied to the main quest. They're in the assignment section. there are those warlords. If I recall, those might be a little bit on the more difficult side, so we might wait a little bit before doing those. We'll see. Oh, I nearly just threw my, and by threw I mean dropped my controller on the ground. But fortunately, I, merely just swatted at it and caught it on my knee before it fell down, and, well, maybe just moved over to the mission section instead. But anyways, that's all an aside. Yeah, so the hostile takeover, that's gonna wait, I think. At least a little bit. Yeah, we still have the biotic commune is maybe the other thing that we would think about doing at this stage. But tell you what, it's been a while. It's been quite a while since we last looked at our codex at all. So I think it is probably worth at least checking out some primary entries, if not maybe even some secondaries as well. And it's been longer, I think, since we last did secondaries. Well, let's see. Ships and vehicles?
Faster than light drives use element 0 cores to reduce the mass of the ship, allowing higher rates of acceleration. This effectively raises the speed of light within the mass effect field, allowing high-speed travel with negligible relativistic time dilation effects. Starships still require conventional thrusters, chemical rockets, commercial fusion torch, economy ion engine, or military anti-proton drive, in addition to the FTL drive core. With only a core, a ship has no motive power. The amount of EZO and power required for a drive increases exponentially to the mass being moved and the degree it is being lightened. Very massive ships or very high speeds are prohibitively expensive. If the field collapses while the ship is moving at faster than light speed, the effects are catastrophic.
Oh.
The ship is snapped back to sublight velocity, the enormous excess energy shed in the form of lethal Cherenkov radiation.
Yeah, that sounds pretty bad. Like, pretty horrendously terrible. However, I think, what was it? We were talking previously about how we had unlocked some of the most fundamental entries on our codex for, it might have been Element 0, but we hadn't done the Mass Effect, or we hadn't done Faster, or something like that. But this Faster Than Light Travel, by extension, definitely pretty fundamental to all things Mass Effect.
Larger warships are generally classified in one of 4 weights. Frigates are small, fast ships used for scouting and screening of larger vessels. Frigates often operate in wolf-pack flotillas. Cruisers are middleweight combatants, faster than dreadnoughts and more heavily armed than frigates. Cruisers are the standard patrol unit and often lead frigate flotillas. Dreadnoughts are kilometer-long capital ships mounting heavy, long-range firepower. They are only deployed for the most vital missions. Carriers are dreadnought-sized vessels that also carry large numbers of fighters. Smaller vessels are almost exclusively used in a support role to the warships during combat. Fighters are one-man craft used to perform close-range attacks on enemy ships. Interceptors are one-man craft optimized for destroying opposing fighters.
Okay.
The Normandy is a prototype starship developed by the Human Systems Alliance with the assistance of the Citadel Council. It is optimized for scouting and reconnaissance missions in unstable regions using state-of-the-art stealth technology.
And we've heard a lot of people talk about that already.
The heat generated through standard operations is easily detectable against the absolute zero background of space. The Normandy, however, is able to temporarily sink this heat within the hull. Combined with refrigeration of the exterior hull, the ship can travel undetected for hours or drift passively for days of covert observation. This is not without risk. The stored heat must eventually be radiated, or it will build to levels capable of cooking the crew alive. Another component of the stealth system is the Normandy's revolutionary Tantalus drive, a Mass Effect core twice the standard size. The Tantalus drive generates mass concentrations that the Normandy falls into, allowing it to move without the use of heat-emitting thrusters.
Yeah, so state-of-the-art in several different ways, and so pretty sweet that we have ourselves with basically the best ship in the fleet. Not a dreadnought. Definitely not a dreadnought, so it's not like a humongous ship with just tons of firepower, but has a lot of the special bells and whistles.
Ship mobility dominates space combat. The primary objective is to align the mass accelerator along the bow with the opposing vessel's broadside. Battles typically play out as artillery duels, fought at ranges measured in thousands of kilometers, though assaults through defended mass relays often occur at knife fight ranges, as close
Spaceships
as a
in a
few
knife
dozen
fight?
kilometers. Most ship-to-ship engagements are skirmishes between patrol vessels of cruiser weight and below, with dreadnoughts and carriers only deployed in full-scale fleet actions. Battles in open space are short and often inconclusive, as the weaker opponent typically disengages. Once a ship enters FTL flight, the combat is effectively over. There are no sensors capable of tracking them or weapons capable of damaging them. The only way to guarantee an enemy will stand and fight is to attack a location they have a vested interest in, such as a settled world or a strategically important mass relay.
And that's interesting, because that is significantly different than it would be in the world we live and know about. Because, well, I mean, yes, certainly it is possible to flee battles, true, but generally there's a somewhat significant amount of time it takes to make that retreat, whereas in this case, presumably it does take some time to charge up your FTL drives to make your faster-than-light escape, but at the end of the day, the actual faster-than-light escape is, of course, faster than light, and, like they were just describing, means that once you do pull it off, there's no tracking you down. Then, well, we were just talking about it. The Mako.
The Mako infantry fighting vehicle was designed for the System Alliance's frigates. Though the interior is cramped, an M35 is small enough to be carried in the cargo bay and easily deployed on virtually any world. With its turreted 155mm mass accelerator and coaxially mounted machine gun, the Mako can provide a fire team with weapon support as well as mobility. Since Alliance Marines may be required to fight on any world, the Mako is environmentally sealed and equipped with microthrusters for use on low-gravity planetoids. The Mako is powered by a sealed hydrogen-oxygen fuel cell and includes a small Element Zero core. While not large enough to nullify the vehicle's mass, the core can reduce it enough to be safely airdropped. When used in conjunction with thrusters, it also allows the Mako to extricate itself from difficult terrain.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we are definitely using the boosters on planets that are not necessarily low gravity, and yet we can still get this thing off the ground, and I mean, it's gotta be a pretty heavy vehicle, right? So, yeah, Mass Effect's involved in some ways there. That's the last of things for our ships and vehicles. We do have stuff on weapons and armor and equipment. Maybe let's just take a second here, because, oh my god, look at all of our secondary entries here. So, I don't think we're going to do all of them right now. That would be, we would be here for the next week if we did that. But let's maybe see if we can prioritize a bit. Council Races does probably rise pretty high on our list. Citadel Galactic Government as well, perhaps. Humanity System Alliance. Ships, vehicles, technology, and maybe a better question is which ones do we feel like are not terribly important right now? Extinct races we can probably pass on for the time being. Planets and locations we can probably pass on. Let's go with Council races first. Solarian's League of One. Before they joined the Citadel Council, Solarian's most potent military tool was a special reconnaissance team known as the League of One, and these are the group that we are collecting the medallions from. Their primary training was in espionage and assassination. Never more than a dozen strong, the team was adept at infiltrating the tightest defenses and eliminating all necessary obstacles. Only a few top members of government and military were privy to the League's identities. League members wore no distinguishing garments and held no particular rank. The only evidence of their participation in the League was a small medallion presented to each member upon induction. This secrecy was maintained until the formation of the Council. And so, yeah, it's those medallions that we're collecting. In an effort to dispel rumors and appease their new Asari partners, the Solarian Union released all classified documents pertaining to the League. League of One was suddenly exposed and in danger of being hunted by enemies of the Solarians. Before any harm could be done, the team mysteriously disappeared. Most assumed this was a convenient lie to help hide their identities, but a few months later, the Inner Cabinet was murdered. Though there was no incriminating evidence, it was clear who was responsible. Realizing the threat posed by this rogue outfit, the Special Tasks Group dispatched a team of hunters. When they didn't return, the STG dispatched 10 of its brightest operators with broad discretionary powers. Only 2 returned. They reported no evidence of the League. No further incidents were reported, and it was assumed the League was wiped out. Some recently declassified documents, however, have suggested there may have been a 13th member who eluded the Solarian military. Okay, so it tells us more about what was, in many ways, you could almost see as the Solarians' predecessor, or at least predecessor program to the Spectres. Then we have Turians, their biology. So, and the Citadel Council races are going to be Solarians, Turians, and Asari, and they generally are going to be the species besides humans that we see most often, and so generally for that reason I think most important for us to understand what's going on with them. So the Turian homeworld, Palaven, has a metal poor core, generating a weak magnetic field and allowing more solar radiation into the atmosphere. To deal with this, most forms of life on Palaven evolved some form of metallic exoskeleton to protect themselves, sorry. Their reflective plate-like skin makes Turians less susceptible to long-term, low-level radiation exposure, but they do not possess any sort of natural armor. A Turian's thick skin does not stop projectiles and directed energy bolts. I didn't even remember, really, that they technically had this little bit of an exoskeleton. Although life on Palaven is carbon-based and oxygen-breathing, it is built on dextro amino acids. This places the Turians in a distinct minority on the galactic stage. The Quarians are the only other known sapient dextroprotein race. Food of humans, Asari, or Solarians, who evolved in levo amino acid-based biospheres, will at best pass through Turian systems without providing any nutrition. At worst, it will trigger an allergic reaction that can be fatal if not immediately treated. So yeah, Turians and Quarians actually are basically structured different anatomically, or at least more so chemically, from a protein standpoint. So you already, apparently, have read about Turian culture. Let's read about their military doctrine. So although they lack the brutality of the Krogan, the skill of the Asari, and the virtuosity of the humans, I'm not sure I call the humans virtuous, but okay, the Turian military has formidable discipline. Officers and NCOs are lifers with years of field experience. Enlisted personnel are thoroughly trained and stay calm under fire. Turian units don't break. Even if their entire line collapses, they fall back in order, setting ambushes as they go. Popular saying holds: you will only see Turian's back once he's dead. Boot camp begins on the 15th birthday. Soldiers receive a year of training before being assigned to a field unit. Officers train for even longer. Most serve until the age of 30, at which point they become part of the reserves. Even if they suffer injuries preventing frontline service, most do support work behind the lines. Biotics are uncommon. While admired for their exacting skills, biotics' motives are not always fully trusted by the common soldier. Turians prefer to assign their biotics to specialist teams called cabals. Ooh, hold on. Not me to do that. Where were we? Command and control is decentralized and flexible. Individual squads can call for artillery and aid support. They make extensive use of combat drones for light duties and practice combined arms. Infantry operates with armor, supported by overhead gunships. Strategically, they are methodical and patient, and dislike risky operations. Tradition is important. Each legion has a full-time staff of historians who chronicle its battle honors in detail. The oldest have records dating back to the Turian Iron Age. If a legion is destroyed in battle, it is reconstituted rather than replaced. The Turians recruit auxiliary units from conquered or absorbed minor races. Auxiliaries are generally light infantry or armored cavalry units that screen and support the main Turian formations. At the conclusion of their service in the auxiliaries, recruits are granted Turian citizenship. I was gonna say, it's a potentially pretty nasty system if, you know, they're basically in prison, or, well, capturing minor, quote-unquote, minor races and forcing them into fighting wars against their will, in all likelihood. That doesn't sound so great. So I believe that is everything on the council races here. There is, of course, much more that we've yet to see here. I just want to take a peek at, I think, technology and make sure that we aren't missing anything on Mass Effect, FTL Drive, or FTL in general. Things along those lines that are pretty darn important. I would think they would all be in the primary category, but again, it felt like we were missing some pretty fundamental things there, so just want to at least see what we have. Biotics, biotic amps, biotic training, communications, credits. Okay, I mean, I don't think they're necessarily crucially important, but we'll give it a look at least for this. Biotics manipulate Mass Effect fields using dozens of Element Zero nodules within their nervous systems that react to electric stimuli from the brain. Amplifiers allow biotics to synchronize the nodules so they can form fields large and strong enough for practical use. Amplifiers can improve a specific discipline or talent. An implant is a surgically embedded interface port into which amps are plugged in. On humans, the implant is usually placed at the base of the skull for convenient access, though the user must be careful to keep it free of contaminants. Implant ports can fit a variety of amps, and there is a growing market for modifications and add-ons. Finest quality implants and amps are manufactured by Asari artisans, but the Alliance's L3 implants, first deployed in 2170, are a significant step forward. Okay. Why don't we leave it at that for now? We are doing pretty well on the primary entries. In fact, we appear to be entirely caught up on that. Secondary, it's going to take us a while to get all this stuff done, and, you know, we don't need to do it all right now, so we'll mix it in every now and again. But, let's see. So, we just finished that mission with the surprise Geth attack. What else? What else might we be interested in doing here? I want to save Cerberus. I think I want to save Hostile Takeover. And I think, what does that leave us with is the main question then. I think it's basically just the strange commune. Biotic commune. So, yeah. Why don't we check this out? Head to the Sentry system in the Hawking Edict cluster and investigate the strange biotic commune. Okay. We can do that. And one other thing is if we open up our galaxy map here. I just wanted to perhaps double check. Have we been to the Phoenix cluster? Or have we not? Don't remember if we have. I mean, if we haven't, then, you know, probably going to get something that takes us here later on for a request, but let's at least give it a quick look. Okay, does this look familiar? Hatashi, Salto, there's something here. Let's, I guess, check out this carbonaceous asteroid at the very least. And we can survey it. So that would suggest that we've not yet been here. Because presumably, assuming that we would have remembered to actually check out this asteroid belt, we would have seen this and actually taken the stuff from it. This asteroid is emitting a weak, intermittent signal at a frequency of 1,540 megahertz. Okay. Oddly specific. I suppose we can see what it's all about, though. And we got a Prothean data disk. During a scan of the Phoenix system asteroid field, although there will be Prothean in here later on, Prothean data disk at least, detected an odd energy reading that Tali determined was a Quarian in nature. She led a recon team into the asteroid field, where she discovered an abandoned freighter. The team could not determine why the ship was there, but they did find a Prothean data disk on board. Nice. Okay. Let's just see if there happens to be any other things in this asteroid belt. Doesn't look like it. So what about Hatashi? Hatashi is a sun-blasted terrestrial world whose atmosphere was blasted away millennia ago by the star Phoenix. The surface is scorching hot and mainly composed of iron with deposits of tin. Due to its relatively low density, Hatashi is tightly locked to Phoenix. Seas of molten light metals cover much of the sunward side. That's intense. Seas of molten metal. Yeah, I suppose that type of stuff can start to happen when it's 546 degrees Celsius on the surface. Let's check it out. And for what it's worth, perhaps we took a little dip in those molten metal seas because we did manage to get a deposit of samarium. So now let's see Silsalto. And in this case, Silsalto is a standard hydrogen-helium gas giant. It has no remarkable features at all. I am sorry, Silsalto. Your name is hard to say. You at least have that. Next we have Tuntao. We can land on. Tuntao is an enormous, low-density terrestrial planet with a thick atmosphere of methane and helium. Despite being nearly 20 AU from Phoenix, the star's great heat and the insulating thickness of the atmosphere make the surface surprisingly temperate. The crust is mainly composed of sodium and silicon dioxide with deposits of various light metals. While Tuntao is not habitable, the relative pleasantness of the surface conditions make it a popular location for small ships traveling through the Argus Row cluster to land for drive discharge. That's 21 degrees Celsius, and a relatively normal amount of gravity. Yeah, that's not bad. That's a pretty thick atmosphere, and that would explain how it is so warm when it is so far away from the star. So I'm not sure if we want to go in there yet, or at least at the very least, I would say we want to double check if we know of any missions that are sending us here, because I didn't think we had any. So I was a little surprised, but then again, you know, if we can go to a system, generally speaking, that does mean there's at least one thing in that system. But I was thinking maybe, just maybe, it was that, well, you know, there may not be anything in here just yet, but just soon, something will eventually become available to us. Okay, I don't think there's anything in that asteroid belt. Vebanok is a small terrestrial world with a thin atmosphere of krypton and xenon. Its frozen surface is mainly composed of carbonaceous material, water, ice, and low-density silicates. Rare but concentrated loads of light metals have been deposited by asteroid impacts. One hemisphere of Vebanok is covered by surface deposits of oxidized copper. Approximately 270 years ago, a Turian bulk gas transport was attacked by pirates in the Phoenix system. Damaged, it made a rough landing on Vebanok. Heat of the landing melted significant quantities of surface ice, and ruptured shipping containers spilled locks across the surface. Before this evaporated and escaped Vebanok's weak gravity, it reacted to cause the widespread rust. Oh, wow. So just that one single situation basically affected the entire planet. Pretty crazy. We can survey it, and we got a light metal. Cobalt. Okay, sure. So yeah, we do have, what was it? Tuntao. But before we actually decide whether we want to land on that or not, let's just see. Do we happen to know of anything there? Like, is it one of the quests that we were saying we wanted to delay? It's actually here? In which case, you know, so much for delaying it. Like, the hostile takeover is Gemini, let's see, on system of Gemini Sigma cluster, this system of Hades Gamma cluster. No. So neither of those. Range transmission, definitely not. Yeah, so that's a bit of a strange one. So we could very well end up showing up here and just finding something there that we do not yet know about. That's true. Or we could deliberately wait a little bit and see if through doing other quests or talking to other people, we happen to learn enough about some other topic that we actually get the quest, and then suddenly, you know, we're not going in blind. That may or may not end up happening. Honestly, I don't remember. But the one problem with delaying is that now that we've gone in and we have explored, or I shouldn't say explored, but we've examined these other planets and surveyed them and what have you, then now we've kind of sent that signal to us that, well, you know, if we look here, we might think we're done, but in truth, we are not. I don't remember Huntao at all. I don't think. But sure, let's check it out. Why not?